Hello and welcome back. Today we have a special occasion. My amazing friend Victor made a free tutorial for my channel, and thanks to him we have this cool and amazing scene on my Jinx animation. So if you appreciate his help, maybe check out his amazing course. And now you can get a nice discount while using the code in the description. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial and let's go.
Hey guys, and welcome to the first part. And what I want to do first is to just add in our references. So if you have downloaded your pictures already, all you need to do is to drag and drop them into your 3D viewport over here. So just drag and drop the references in. So I'm going to drag this front view, the side, and the top one. And before we continue, I want to just left click them and go to this tab over here with a picture and turn on opacity. And that just gets rid of some jagged lines that you might have. For example, you can see it around here, but if I were to turn on opacity, it just clears it out a lot better. And now, aside from these angled view, I also want to add in a render view. So I'm gonna just drag this corner down so that you'll make another editor, and I'm gonna change this one into an image editor. And the point is so that you can drag and drop a transparent render at a 3/4 view. So the reason is so that we can see some details that you can't really see in this angled view, for example, like these ones. And I guess now we can continue. So what I'm going to do is to just first create two collections, one for the camera and lights and one for the references. And the reason why I have collections is to just organize things. And you can also just unclutter everything by hiding things. So I'm going to just select the camera and shift select the light. To select them both, press M and move to a collection. I'll hit new collection and call this camera and lights. Hit OK, and you can see now it has its own collection. And the cool thing is that you can press this checkbox to enable it on and off, and it'll just hide and unhide them. And same thing for these. I'm going to shift select all of these, and I'll press M, new collection, and I'll call this references. And I will also go through the trouble of renaming them. So just double click on the name, and I'll call this ref_front. And you can probably guess what I'm going to name the other two. Okay, so now that we have renamed everything, I should probably go over the navigations once. So if you hold middle mouse, you can orbit around the scene. If you press shift and middle mouse, you can pan around. And if you use your mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out. But aside from that, I also like to snap to viewpoints. So if you were to press the tilde key, which is under your escape key, you can open this pie menu and you can look at different angles. So the most important ones are probably the right, the top, the front, and the camera view. Personally, I like to use numpad keys. So numpad 1 will go to the front view, numpad 3 will go to the right view, numpad 7 will go to the top view, and numpad 0 will go to the camera view. And the camera view is whatever your scene renders. So if your camera is looking at it like this, then this is probably the angle at which you're going to render. So now, I guess we can start moving our references. And just for reference, I'm going to just delete this cube by pressing X and deleting it while it's selected. And I'll press Shift A and add in a monkey. And the reason is because we know which way is pointing forward, which is this monkey. And we're going to move our references accordingly. So I'm going to just hit Alt-R to clear the rotation and Alt-G to clear the location. And this is for the side reference. And I'll press R to rotate it. And whenever you want to rotate it on one angle, you can press R to rotate and press X or Y or Z to snap to a axis. So if I were to hit Y and X, you can snap it to the X, and I'm just going to hold Control and rotate it till it's 90 degrees. You can see on the top left over here what angle you're snapping to. So I'm trying to get it to 90 and left click to confirm it. If you right click, then it'll just cancel the action. So I'll press R and Z to rotate it once again. I'm going to move it 90 degrees in this direction. And another thing I want to do is to just move it a bit towards the monkey's left. So I'll press G and X, and that'll just let me move it in this direction. Now, same thing for this. I'm going to just hit Alt-R and Alt-G to reset the rotation and location. And I'm going to press R, X to rotate it on X by 90. And this one, we want to put it behind, like so. And this one, we want to put it under. So Alt-R and Alt-G. rotate it on the Z by 90 degrees so it's facing the same direction as this reference. And I'll just press G and Z to move it down. So now if you were to try to move to different viewpoints, so if I were to hit the tilde key and go to the front, it's going to be behind this reference. If I were to go to the right, it's going to be behind. If I go to the top, it's going to be under. So that's pretty much it for adding in the references. So now we're going to actually start modeling. Okay, so now I'm going to start working on the front part of this turret. And what I'm going to do first is you just delete this monkey. And in order to add in a mesh, you can hit Shift A and add in a cylinder. It's much better to always just add in a mesh that most matches your model. In this case, my one is 8 sides already. So make sure that you go to the box over here and turn it to 8 sides so that it matches the number of sides of this one. I'll go into numpad 3 to go into the side view, rotate it, and I'll press S to scale it down. And I'll just move it around here. Looks like the reference isn't really too aligned. So I'm just gonna select both of these and move it up a bit, maybe till here. So it does look like I need to move it to the right a bit. Yep. Okay. So now I'm going to just go into edit mode on this by pressing tab. And you see that there are many different selects for text. And if you press the number 2 or select this, you have your edge select, or number 3 is the face select. So just cycle between this based on what you wanna select. And in this case, I'll just select this face with left click, and I'll just press G and Y to move it back. And I'll use this tool, which is a shear tool. And what it does is when you have this face selected, it'll rotate it, but it won't kill the overall height. For example, if I were to rotate it normally, it'll just mess it up a bit. So now we have the shape, which is pretty cool. And now I'll work on the cylinder over here. So I'll press Shift A again, or rather, one thing you can do is to change where your 3D cursor is so that whenever you make an object, it'll spawn exactly where you want it to. So for example, if I were to make an object now, it'll just spawn at where the 3D cursor is. So what I'll do is just select this and press Shift S and press the cursor to select it. And what it does is that it moves the 3D cursor here. So I'll add a new one, make it a cylinder, and I'll change the sides back to 32 because this one is a smooth cylinder. I'll just rotate it and move it back a bit. I'll scale it down till here. And now I'll go into edit mode and I'll go into wireframe, which you do by pressing Z and wireframe. And that just lets you see through everything. And I'll just box select all of this and I'll press G and Y to move it back till here. So, yep. And actually, we need to move it back a bit more, maybe till here. And I'm pretty happy with this. And for now, we're going to start working on this part. So if you were to take a look at this reference over here, it's kind of the same shape as this part over here. So what I'll do is to just go into edit mode on this part, and I'll select this face. I'll press Shift D to duplicate it, right click so it stays in place, and P to separate by selection. And whatever face you have selected will be a different object now. So now I'll move it to the back a bit till maybe here. And then I'll press tab to go into edit mode. I'll select everything with A and press E to extrude it. We'll select this face, press I to inset, and I'm going to make sure that I match the reference a bit. So maybe till here. And I will press E to extrude it. So just make sure you're matching the reference. And now we've pretty much made this shape as well. And you'll see that there's actually a hole for where the bullets go through. So I'm definitely going to just press Shift E to duplicate this and move this forward a bit. And I'm going to go into the front view. Go into the wireframe, and I'll just go into edit mode and scale it up a bit so that it matches the hole a bit. So maybe till here. And what I'll do is to do our first Boolean operation. So I'll select this mesh, go to the modifiers over here, add modifier, Boolean, and I will set the color pick object to this one. And if I were to hide this by selecting and press H, you'll see that it's cutting away. So for now, you can see that it's working. So we will apply the modifier. And the way you do that is just select this and press Ctrl A to apply. So now I can just delete this, and this mesh now has that hole. Okay. So now we can talk about the bevel modifier and doing a lot of smoothing. So first thing I want to do is to just right click and shade smooth. And you'll see that the shading doesn't look too good. And that's because we have to turn on auto smooth, which you can find in this property over here, and turning on auto smooth. And I can also go to the modifiers here and turn on bevel. And I'll turn the segments up to 4. And also make sure whenever you use a modifier to just press Ctrl A and apply scale. Because whenever we scale everything, it'll mess our bevel modifier up. So it's definitely important to remember to do that. So I'll set the amount down to 0.05 or 0.005. And you'll see that the shading kind of looks still a bit off. And what you can do is to go to shading and turn on harden normals. The harden normals won't work unless you turn on auto smooth in this panel as well. So same thing, I'm just going to copy all the modifiers over. So I'm going to just shift select all of these and make sure I select this one last. You'll see that it's highlighted in a different color, and press Ctrl L and copy modifiers. And you'll see that the modifiers are copied, but we need to apply the scale for these two or else it won't work too well. And right click shade smooth, right click shade smooth, turn on auto smooth for the both of these as well. So now the shading and everything looks pretty nice. And what I can do now is to just go to over here to change my matte cap. So I'll change to maybe this one, and I'll turn on cavity just so I can see everything a bit better. So something like this. Now you can see that we have two other ones that are being rotated, and instead of modeling them all by hand, you can definitely do an array modifier. But in my case, I think I'm just going to stick to something easy and just use the 3D cursor as a rotation point. So you can see the 3D cursors over here. And okay, you know what? I'll just use array modifier. So move the 3D cursor to world origin, and then I will add an array modifier to this one, and make sure that you also add in an object called an empty. So for your array modifier, make sure you set your object offset, set it to object offset, and turn off the relative offset, and set the object offset object to this empty. Now you see that it's rotating a bit weird, but that's because you need to apply your rotation. Okay, so for now, you also need to apply your location, and it should be pretty right. So you see that everything is all in the same place, but what you actually need to do is to turn your count up, and now you can rotate your empty. So if you want it to be rotated 3 times evenly, then you would divide 360 by 3, which is 120. So I'll rotate this on a Y by 120, and you'll see that it's being copied over perfectly. So same thing, I'm just gonna select the both of these and select this last, press Ctrl L and copy modifiers. And you'll see that it's pretty messed up, and that's because we also need to apply the rotation location. So just remember to apply your location and make sure the empty is in the middle of the world, because you need your object origin, which is this orange point, to be the same as the object origin of the empty. So now, because the location is applied, the both of them are just in the center of the world. Okay, so I guess for now we can end this video, and I'll see you in the next one where we will model a different part.